In May 1989, it was learned by the Central Intelligence Agency that the KGB was subjecting people undergoing interrogation to electromagnetic fields which produced a panic reaction, thereby bringing them closer to breaking down under questioning. These subjects were not told that they were being placed under the influence of these beings. A few years earlier, you see, folks, we've gone from Pavlov's slobbering dogs to implantation of the brain to electromagnetic beams. A few years earlier, Dr. Ross Ade released photographs and a fact sheet concerning what he called the Russian Leda machine. This consisted, folks, of a small transmitter emitting 10 hertz waves, which makes the subject susceptible to hypnotic suggestion. The device utilized the outmoded vacuum tube design. American POWs in Korea have indicated that similar devices had been used for interrogation purposes in prisoner of war camps. Now, the general long-term goal of the Central Intelligence Agency was to find out whether or not mind control could be achieved through the use of a precise external electromagnetic beam. The electrical activity of the brain operates within the range of 100 hertz frequency. This spectrum, called the ELF, or ELF, extremely low frequency range, ELF waves carry very little ionizing radiation and very low heat, and therefore do not manifest gross observable physical effects on living organisms. But published Soviet experiments with ELFs revealed that there was a marked increase in psychiatric and central nervous system disorders and symptoms of stress for sailors working close to ELF generators. In the mid-1970s, American interest in combining EMR techniques with hypnosis was prominent. Plans, folks, were on file to develop these techniques through experiments on human volunteers. EMR is electromagnetic radiation. The spoken word of the hypnotist could be conveyed by modulated electromagnetic energy directly into the subconscious parts of the human brain without employing any technical devices for receiving or transacting the messages, and without the person exposed to such influence having a chance to control the information input consciously. Are you beginning to make connections?
Actually, according to the ancient beliefs in these matters, the soul was a vestment, the golden wedding garment, the garment that was to be worn to the wedding of the Lamb, and actually was a phase of the magnetic field of the human body. In other words, the golden wedding garment, or the soul, was a construction that arises within the magnetic field of the human aura. In other words, as the works of goodness, as the desire to grow increases, and the individual makes certain changes and improvements in his own life pattern, there are changes in the magnetic field. Gradually, there becomes a transformation, and there appears in the field a luminous quality, which represents the goodness of our hearts and minds. This goodness increases as we increase in righteousness, and in the end it becomes a luminous vestment within the magnetic field, or within the aura. And when it attains to this magnitude, it is called the golden wedding garment. In all practical purposes, therefore, the story of the golden wedding garment, or the soul, is the story of the visible changes in the constitution of the magnetic fields of the human body, which tells us of the unfoldment and development of the being that has that body. Also, the aura or magnetic field does manifest to some degree in the visible world. And the works of the golden wedding garment are the labors of righteousness. As the individual increases in spiritual integrities, these integrities become a part of his essential consciousness. They are not moods that arise and fail. If the growth is genuine, these moods grow and continue until the individual's inner life is transmuted and transformed. Therefore, in a sense also, the soul becomes the stone of the philosopher, the mysterious alchemical mystery of the transformation of all base substances into the gold of wisdom. The golden wedding garment, therefore, is also this mysterious elixir of life, one drop of which transforms 10,000 times its own weight. These terms, which are used in mysticism to guard the secrets from the profane, are also in a way mysteriously correct, for they represent the tremendous increase of inward power resulting from the transmutation of the base elements of life. Life is a series of small victories over doubts, uncertainties, temptations. Wherever there is a victory, there is another flash of light in the soul body, and gradually this body becomes luminous, like the Christmas tree which Luther uses to describe it. This soul body, then, is gradually building up, and out of its building comes the securities of life. Out of the power of this increasing soul body comes the power to still improve more rapidly and make further growth. The immortality of man is growing up in him in a mysterious substance. His bodies have a material immortality in the earth. His spirit has an immortality in heaven. And between these two is the soul, the bridge, the mysterious elixir of transformation, which we find in our daily living. Therefore, we think of the soul now as a mysterious, luminous vestment. And we know by going back to the ancient writings and the ancient pictures on the walls of temples and in scrolls of ancient times, that these pictures showing the robes of royalty, showing the vestments of the high priest of Israel, showing the wonderful garments of glory of the Indian sages, all these are pictures of this mysterious, magnetic, internal soul garment. The individual, according to the ancient Kabbalists and mystics, cannot enter heaven in the physical body alone. Therefore, he must leave the physical and go forth in the robe of glory. After a while, this garment is given a further development. And in the description of the tabernacle in the wilderness, we find the description of the garments of the priests and of the high priests of the tabernacle and the temple of Solomon the king. We find similar descriptions in Egypt, also in India and China. Mysterious, gloriful robes, great and stately symbols, all of which recognize are but physical representations of the invisible energies that emanate from a redeemed person.
In California, it was discovered by Dr. Ade that animal brain waves could be altered directly by ELF fields. It was found that monkey brains would fall in phase with elf waves. These waves could easily pass through the skull, which normally protected the central nervous system from outside influence. In San Leandro, Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher, Director of Technic Research Laboratory, has been doing elf brain research with human subjects for quite some time. One of the frequencies produces nausea for more than an hour. Another frequency, she calls it the marijuana frequency, gets people laughing. Quote, "Give me the money in 3 months," she says, "and I'll be able to affect the behavior of 80% of the people in this town without their even knowing it," unquote. Across this country, those of you who are alert and aware are seeing strange towers being erected. When you ask questions, you're told that these are weather towers. When you begin to investigate, and especially if you have the equipment to monitor the radiation from these towers, you find that they are emitting ELF waves. In the past, the Soviet Union has invested large sums of time and money investigating microwaves. In 1952, ladies and gentlemen, while the Cold War was showing no signs of thawing, there was a secret meeting at the Sandia Corporation in New Mexico between United States and Soviet scientists involving the exchange of information regarding the biological hazards and safety levels of electromagnetic radiation. Now that's strange. You see, in 1952, we were supposed to be in the midst of the Cold War, threatened by the atomic might of the Soviet Union. What were they doing at the Sandia Corporation? Exchanging information regarding the biological hazards and safety levels of electromagnetic radiation. They were doing what they've always been doing, folks, cooperating behind the scenes to bring about one world government.